Hey everybody, it's me, Eric Comley, the Garrard County 4-H Youth Development Agent, and this is another edition of On the Ground. I am really excited about this little plant too. This is one that's fairly common. It's perennial, so you'll see it generally every year. But it is this little flower right here. So I haven't had as much opportunity to get out and see as many different things this year as obviously I had in the past. And these segments were developed so that, people who weren't or did not have the opportunity to get outside, whether that be because of the pandemic or whether it was not, that they could still get kind of a glimpse of some of the cool flowers that we have in Kentucky. So this little flower here, this is called well, there's several different common names for it. It's called bishop's cap. That's the one that I know it mostly as. It's also called fairy cup, I believe. It's called, it was at one point called coolwort. So it has a few different common names, but bishop's cap is what generally most people will know it as. The scientific name for this one is Mitella, Mitella diphylla. And Mitella is getting into the etymology of the name. Mitella means little miter, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And then diphylla means two leaves. If you look, to talk a little bit about the plant first, if you look, it has these two leaves. It almost looks like it's perfoliate, where it's like actually kind of splits in the middle, but it's not. There's two separate leaves that are here. It has pubescence along the stem here, and this can get to be somewhere between 18 inches tall, so it can get to be fairly tall. And then this is the flower. If you look at the flower here, I apologize for my phone is making all kinds of noise now. But if you look at the flower here, you see that fringing along, and I'm going to put some close-up images of the flower so that you can see it. You see that those individual almost frond-like fringe along the outside of the flower. Really just beautiful. Grows in these kind of rich woods, kind of moist, rocky areas. I'm looking, and there's, rocks all over the place, and I'm on a hillside here in Kentucky, and there's all kinds of things. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna swing this around. If you look, you see we've got large flowered trillium right there. You see woodland poppy in the back. There's all kinds of cool things that are actually here. I'm looking at squirrel corn and Canada violets. I'm looking at red trillium. It's just, this hillside is spectacular. It's really beautiful. So, but getting back to bishop's cap, like I said, rocky, moist, rich woodland areas. And so a little bit about, like, as far as I don't think that I don't think it's edible, number one. Number two, in the past it has had some medicinal uses, or at least thought to be medicinal uses. One of them comes from the common name that we talked about earlier, which was called coolwort. And coolwort, it was actually I believe the root system was ground down into and made a tea, and so it was a tea, and that was supposed to help with fever. Okay, so so that's a potential medicinal use, or at least a historical medicinal use from back then. You see that it grows in these clumps like this. It's rhizomatous, and so it does come up from rhizomes, singled stalk, individual single stalks that come up there. And the cool thing about this one is that there are Mitella that actually grow here in North America, but also in Asia as well. And so, we kind of share these two things there. And there's, obviously some thought about it being one giant landmass at one point. And so, so we actually share these species of Mitella as well between North America and Asia. Really just a cool plant, beautiful. I mean, and the thing about it is that this is one that, as I walk along this path, that if I saw it, I wouldn't think that much of it. But when when I put out the still images of it, or attach the still images of it to this particular on the ground segment, you're going to see how much detail is. So this is one of the reasons that I like to lay down next to the plant, making sure that I'm laying in the trail and not damaging any other plants, or laying on any venomous snakes or poison ivy, or trying to avoid ticks at all costs. But this is one of the reasons that I like to lay down and look, because the details of this flower are really, really gorgeous. Okay. So, I apologize. There's somebody over the hill that's actually looking at me. So the usual flowering date, somewhere between April and June, depending on, of course, as you move up in elevation and you get a little bit cooler temperatures at the top, or as you move up into, as you go north, and things tend to bloom a little bit later in the season. So really just a cool plant. Basal heart-shaped leaves, and then of course you have the two leaves, the diphylla, that's there. Now the reason it's called mitrewort or bishop's cap, so a miter is looks like the cap. When it goes to seed, the seeds actually look like the cap that were worn by bishops, and so that's where the name comes from, is bishop's cap. Although, I mean, I would not be surprised if somewhere out there didn't exist another scientific name, or a common name, I mean, that had something to do with the fringing. I think fringe cup would probably be another one, or maybe feathery flower or something like that. It's really, really kind of a cool plant to look at, especially up close. So anyway, that's a little bit about this plant. If you ever have any questions for me, feel free to reach out to me at my email address, which is Eric, ERIC.Comley, COMLEY @uky.edu. Or you can also find the videos, and if you need to reach me as well, on the Garrard County 4-H Facebook page. I hope that you are continuing to learn something from this series, and I look forward to any questions or comments that you might have. Also, right now, I wanted to tell you, right now during this week is the Kentucky Native Plant Society, which is something that you can join, and the Kentucky Native Plant Society Wildflower Week, all of this week from the 10th all the way through the 17th. So I encourage you to participate in their events. You can look them up on Facebook, KNPS, or the Kentucky Native Plant Society. They do a lot of really cool things. There's some field trips. They're actually, I think tonight or tomorrow night, or one of the nights, they're actually going to do a trivia night, but it's going to be solely focused on wildflowers and plants. So if you're a plant nerd like me, feel free to look them up and join in. They have a wildflower bio blitz that's going on right now, and they're using the iNaturalist app. So if you're interested in that, feel free to join in as well. So anyway, I'll let you all go, but I hope that you enjoyed, and this has been another edition of On the Ground with Eric Comley, Garrard County 4-H. Thank you very much.